7 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Eric and a second by Lori. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right. Community comment. Presenters are welcome to address the council for up to 5 minutes on matters that are not listed on tonight's meeting agenda. Specific requests for information may not be immediately available, in which case follow-up will occur with the presenters sometime after the meeting. The council should not be expected to immediately act on requests. However, they will follow up accordingly and may schedule items for future consideration. With that, Kayla, you're our...
I got nothing.
Okay.
I'm just a witness.
All right. We have no presentations and reports this evening, no public hearings, but we do have a consent agenda. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Eric.
I'll second.
And a second by Christy. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right. Business items. 8.1, the preliminary levy. Ms. Schutte.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. All right, I was going to try and make this super exciting by adding some music.
You promised jazz hands.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think any of us forget.
Dang it.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't mean my friends. Oh, wow. I didn't see those.
I should have added music.
We'll always have the...
I have the final.
Here.
Oh, yeah. Okay. See? Jazz hand.
I should
Okay.
have added Bailey's.
Come on, Christy. Oh, well, thanks for putting up with me for like the 4th time that you've seen this presentation. But we are talking about the 2024 preliminary general fund budget. And as you know, we are going to be I'm presenting to you tonight because you need to adopt the preliminary levy, which it's the highest that you will set it, and it cannot be raised. It can only be lowered. And then I need to send that into Carver County before the 30th of September. So let's just get right into it. This just kind of lays out the schedule for the remainder of the year. We're looking at tonight adopting the preliminary levy, as I stated before. Coming up in October, we'll be talking about enterprise fund budgets as well as our long-term financial plan. Again, moving to a 10-year on that rather than a 5. And in November, just continuing to get data in based on conditions of health insurance rates as well as contracts on Southwest Prime and different things like that we currently do not know. And then in December, truth in taxation and adopting the final budget and certifying the levy. So I just want to remind everybody that the Carver residents pay $0 in franchise fees. Now that's different from other Carver County neighboring cities. The only other ones that do not are Mayer and New Germany that I know about. And so...
Lynn, I hate to interrupt you, but can we say one thing? Can you go back one slide?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, we've seen this 1,000 times, but I think it's fair to say for anyone who might be seeing this for the, tuning in for the first time or isn't tuning in all the time, that the franchise fees, the council at the time decided that we were not going to charge that because it's a pass-through tax, and we wanted to be transparent with our residents about what we were taxing them. And rather than having it come, what I consider to be a little bit hidden on fees that for utilities or other items, and then that was a pass-through that went back out. So we, as a council, decided to be transparent with our charges and fees coming out. So.
Yes, so where residents would normally see this, it's another revenue item on our budget. It would be if we were charging this. And so these utility companies will charge just maybe it's different for every city and every utility company. It would be like a percentage of whatever they pay on their bill. And then they pay that to the city. And so they would show it as another revenue item. We don't have a franchise fee revenue item on our budget because we don't collect anything from any of these companies. And that, you're right, Christy, council made that decision a long time ago to not do that to residents.
During one of our last in-person meetings before COVID.
Oh.
So for the 2024 preliminary general fund revenues, we're looking at 4.1 million. I have it broken out down at the bottom for property tax revenue, and that's what the residents pay to fund the operations at the city. Building permit revenues, we're forecasting at $713,000. And then I also have it listed out for the remainder of the revenues. Local government aid this year did go up from last year. They kind of reformatted their calculation at the state, and so that number went up from about $120,000 last year to $209,000. So we like to keep a balanced budget in the general fund so that we're not drawing from the fund balance. So our general fund expenses equal our revenues. And then I did break it out by our major departments throughout the city. As you can see, we have a capital transfer this year of $170,000, and that's where we're putting that money into the capital equipment fund in order to pay for equipment, infrastructure, purchases like that. One thing that we're trying to do a little bit more of, kind of for our strategic initiatives and just to stay comparative, is comparing ourselves to our peer cities. These are the peer cities that we've chosen. I've listed their population as well as their ending tax rate from 2023. And then also I've calculated what they would be paying on a $428,500 home. The reason I chose that amount, as you know, is that is the city of Carver's average valued home for 2024. So as you can see, the city of Carver is actually in the lower portion of our peer cities, such as Jordan, Delano, Corcoran, Albertville, Waconia. And I did circle them in the picture there, so you can see that we kind of have a good swath of locations throughout the metro. And I did do the same for the Carver County cities. And we are in the lower third as well on this chart as well. For our tax rate for 2024, the proposed tax rate, we're going from 2023 at 37 to a proposed 39.72. If you remember last year, we dropped about 10% last year. So when we look at our market value data, new construction is adding about 56 million. And overall, the increase for new residential is a 4.5% change. The total with commercial and everything is 11%. I know you've seen this slide many times. And this is just another way to look at it. Last year, we added 78 million in new construction value. In 2022, 56 million. They're always a year behind when they're doing their valuations.
So that was built in 2021?
And valued in 2022.
Okay.
Yep. So taking a look at our 2024 debt service preview, and this is our tax levy to pay our debt. It's decreased for 2 consecutive years due to reduction in bond obligations, and I listed those ones down below. It's a 2010A as well as a 2015B. So we've had a decrease for 2 years in a row. This will be our 3rd year of our street maintenance levy, and we'll be levying $420,000 for planned repairs and maintenance. You can see the map here has us doing a reclaim on the 4th Street and mill and overlays in some adjacent streets near there. So this shows the general fund levy history from 2021 to the preliminary in 2024. Currently in 2024, we're looking at a 13.75% increase from 2023. $100,000 of that is the street maintenance levy. You can see that the debt service levy decreased. But overall, it's about a $500,000 increase from last year. When we're looking at the average valued home at the city of Carver, that value increased 4.3% from last year. If you remember, in 2023, we had significant value increases, so this is a little bit more tame this year. So we went from a $410,000 house to a $428,000 house. When you're looking at my calculations here, when you see that homestead exclusion, we do not have any subtractions in our value when we're doing the calculation for this value of a home, because anything over $413,000, you do not get that subtraction. And that's just the way that their calculation works at the Minnesota property taxes. So when it all comes down to the nuts and bolts at the bottom, in 2023, the average valued home at the city of Carver was responsible for $1,537 of city tax. With our proposed levy and tax rate for 2024, they would be looking at a 10.7% increase, so $165 more than last year, which would be $1,702. I've added some more examples because not everybody lives in a $428,000 home at the city of Carver. So home number one last year was approximately $239,000. In 2024, it would be $250,000, and their increase will be $97, and so on and so forth, up to $670,000 home. So what do we have pending? We have health and dental insurance, hopefully be getting those in the next 30 days. Southwest Prime, we need to get our 2024 contract rate and determine the city funding level for that. So the update for the process. Tonight we'll be setting the preliminary levy for 2024. As I said, it can be lowered, but it cannot be raised. We will be having the Enterprise Fund budget presentation in October, as well as the 10-year financial plan presentation. And then the really fun truth and taxation and final 2024 budget and levy adoption in December. So with that, I'll take any questions that you may have. And then ultimately, I am looking for adoption of the resolution that is in the packet.
All right, and just a reminder, this is setting our preliminary budget. This is the ceiling or do not exceed number that we can potentially change, but we cannot increase. So, any questions?
So I do not have any questions, and for our residents that might be watching this, that isn't because we haven't discussed this over several iterations. These go through multiple meetings before we get to this point. So I don't have any questions. I just want to make the comment that at the outset, we were at a higher tax increase. Council made a request to look in every corner for where we can make some adjustments to try to keep that down. We knew we wouldn't get to the increase we had, not last year, but the year before that level. And I am really appreciative that everybody looked hard and made a few concessions in how we spend in the city to keep us at the 13.75. So thank you.
I do have a question, and that's in the packet. The first paragraph in the overview mentions that there may be some revisions, or let us know in future presentations of any changes. And knowing that we have 3 months until we take final action, other than Southwest Prime, are there any other areas that you think will see something move, or?
The only thing that I can think of is, the health and dental, possibly some staffing, just with the hiring that we're doing right now, that could affect next year. With staffing, it's wages, it's health insurance. Do they have a family? I can only guess when I'm putting together the information here. I'm trying to really eliminate some of our IT monthly bills that we're paying by doing some big legwork this year. So that could, some of those costs could be eliminated for next year. So yeah, we'll just keep updating as, every, maybe every other council meeting until December.
All right, thank you.
What did you factor in for the health and dental insurance increase this year? Was it 10%?
That's correct.
Okay, do you know what we saw last year? I don't expect you to know offhand, but just,
I feel like it was like 8.7.
okay. All right, so 10, feel pretty comfortable with that,
gosh.
Unfortunately.
Crossing everything.
Right, okay. Yeah, I'm interested to see what Prime comes back and to see what our funding looks like for that. When I see a tax amount of 13.75%, I have to say that that is a little bit shocking to my system. We're a growing community, so our needs are higher. I'm glad that staff was able to come back with a revised version of the initial information that we saw. Again, 13.75% still makes me a little uncomfortable, but knowing that we are at the ceiling, I'm happy to move forward with this tonight. And knowing that our growing community is spreading this out some, I just, as a council person and representative of the community, it never leaves that times are getting a little bit tough right now. Things are getting tight, groceries are double, like electricity is double, and that what I don't want it to be is the land of, death by 1,000 cuts. Everything is, it's $1,000 here and it's $2,500 there and it's 10,000 here. Well, that all adds up. And it all adds up for every person in this community who has to pay taxes in this community and to the county and beyond. Oh. So while this number isn't my, where I might have liked to have sat, I do want to say that the council looks at it closely and carefully, as I have been as well. So I know that staff, if there are any other adjustments that can be made, I feel really strongly that they're going to come back and let us know what those are. So that is my speech on that.
Thank you, good night. I echo what Eric and Christy said. Nobody feels awesome about a double-digit tax increase. However, it was significantly higher than this the first time we saw it. And if you're watching at home or in this room, and as Lynn is going through a presentation, we might seem a little disconnected. We've seen this 4 times already. This has been a monthly exercise that we've gone through since early June when we first started talking about this. So it's something that we are very familiar with. With that, I do feel good about this budget because earlier this year we did a day-and-a-half long strategic planning where we talked about what was important for the city and where we wanted to position the city and what we wanted the city to be. And specifically, the results of that came a focus of enhanced financial strength and then long-range planning. The monies that we have in this budget is letting us start to do that. So we know that this building isn't going to last forever. We know that some of our trails already probably need a little bit of attention. And we will, if we keep along this path, be able to plan for those anticipated costs that the city is going to occur and not go, oh gosh, we had no idea that Church by the River was going to need a new roof. Who could have predicted that? I think the biggest thing for me here is to not have whomever is sitting in this seat in however many years down the road, hang their head and be like, what were they thinking? I want to set this community up for a good future and be financially strong. And I think that we are really starting to do that for the first time in this budget with just a different way that we're looking at the fund balances and what we're doing. So I think that this is a good budget. With that, I will make a motion to adopt Resolution 137-23, certifying the 2024 preliminary tax levy in the amount of $4,381,674.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Mayor Johnson and a second by Councilmember Pershman. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Thanks, Lynn. All right, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. A couple of items to provide an update on. We're investigating with our engineering team and in consultation with the Carver Elementary folks, specifically Mr. Finke, the principal, establishing a school speed zone. So there's a process for undertaking that. This would be on Ironwood Drive, west of the elementary. So that would involve council processes, approvals. There are standards related to that and where things are located, et cetera. There's been some residents that have reached out as well, and so we told them that we'd get them an update in 30 days. So Dan and his team are working on that, but I just wanted to give you a line of sight to that.
Brent, so we have the speed zone on 11.
Correct.
Right, once you come off 11, next to the school, there's nothing there to.
There's no
monitor.
designated speed zone, and without a big background in that, it essentially is just a lower speed limit than what it would be typically. But there's nothing on Ironwood Drive, and for the most part, there hasn't been any eastbound traffic on Ironwood Drive west of the school. But now that Timber Creek is open, people are noticing that traffic. Some folks made a suggestion. We're following up on that, and hopefully later on this fall we can provide the council with an update or action for you to consider.
Great, thanks.
I asked Chad to be ready to talk about, we have one of our filters at the kind of the older part of the water treatment plant has been taken offline and is in need of repair. So Chad's going to provide an update on that. And then kind of with that, from time to time, the city will get some brown water calls. And so I asked Chad just to be prepared to share a little bit of information on, what that really means. And a lot of information, frankly, out there. One of the things that I've learned just in the last couple of years just from Chad is that a good way to test your water is opening up your spigot outside. And if that's clear, that really shows that you have a problem with your internal plumbing, because that's the water that's not going through your internal plumbing in your home. But I asked Chad to kind of share some of those little tidbits that if you get those comments, feel free to, send them our way to handle them. But part of that education is a little bit of, I would say, conversation in the council chambers here about that and being able to answer some questions for the council. So with that, Chad, can you take it away?
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So first, the update with the issue with filter number 2 at the water treatment plant. Staff noticed some irregularities during a backwash process. So we are still working, consulting with the engineers and gathering pricing. To do those repairs, basically, we'll have to take all of the media out, store it, figure out what the actual issue is, and then order the parts, repair it, and then put the media back. So again, we're still working on pricing for that task. It's going to vary greatly because it's part time and part materials. So it could have kind of a wide range when we do get an estimate back. As far as the water quality issues, first thing I would say, if anybody is experiencing any quality issues, to please call City Hall. We do follow up with every call or every concern.
Can you say that again for the folks in the back?
Yes. Please call City Hall.
Not you specifically, in general, it's a saying.
We do follow up with every phone call, and we take them seriously. We've had staff out. We've tested water. We kind of initially just diagnose some of the processes over the phone to help people out. And most of the time, that phone call will get no return phone calls because they find something with their internal plumbing. One thing is contractors pulling off of fire hydrants. With our gravity filtration process for water treatment, there's always a minute amount of iron that will be able to get through that media and get into the system, and it's only stirred up with high flows, for example, when a contractor draws water off of a fire hydrant. So if you do see that, please, again, call us, let us know. The second most common issue is water softener issues. I've been to numerous calls where there's no salt or people don't know where their water softener is located in their house. So it varies greatly.
I'm feeling like a great homeowner
Yes,
all
that
of a
makes
sudden.
me,
Right.
yeah.
Feeling like a pro.
So it ranges from varying problems. Sometimes when we put that in, or ask the resident to put it in bypass, they notice an immediate change in their water quality. So sometimes it might just be at an end of life for the softener. One instance, I did work with a resident who liked to fill her like 120-gallon jacuzzi hot tub up as quickly as she could. And after working with her for probably 3 months, we figured out that the diameter of pipe created so much flow that it would actually break through her softener media for filtration. That was the only time that it ever happened in her house. So, you know, we go the extra mile to definitely help resolve those water quality issues.
Hey, Chad, on the media that you're pulling off, does that have a finite lifespan? Is it near where you would replace it anyway?
It was replaced at the water treatment plant.
Yeah.
Yes, it does have a life, but it's usually like 20 years.
Okay, so we're not gonna,
And all of that filter media was replaced with the water treatment plant expansion. That's why it's so important to preserve that. Otherwise, the
Got it.
cost will go up exponentially.
right?
Right. If I can just add on, I'm going to say it a third time. If it's not, call City Hall. If that's not something you're comfortable with, there's a report a concern button at cityofcarver.com that goes directly to Brent's email and a few other people, and those are responded to just as quickly. The City of Carver staff, really council members, and I do not monitor community Facebook pages, especially some of the more niche neighborhood ones that we might not be allowed into because we're not part of those neighborhoods. So that's not the best place to voice your concerns. If you're truly concerned, give us a call, send us an email, go to the website.
Thank you, Chad. One of the pieces or projects that we talked about earlier in the summer was parking on Kirchy Hill related to, we had two resident concerns related to parking, especially during baseball, softball events at Community Park. And I would say it's been an ongoing issue, and we spend, frankly, a lot of time, Chad, Paul, Chief Trimbo, the engineering team, Vicky, Aaron Smith, et cetera, just talking about it. And we're going to be presenting the council probably at either your first or second meeting in October, a plan that's a little bit, I would say, unique to the situation. What we're struggling with is, under normal circumstances, a street that wide facilitates parking on both sides. What we found is that when you do those calculations for street width, minimum street width for parking on both sides, it doesn't necessarily contemplate end-to-end parking where you have cars back to back to back on both sides, where it makes it difficult for an engine or an fire department apparatus to get through emergency vehicles, et cetera. And so kind of taking a creative solution that Chad and the Public Services team came up with for this Steamboat Days event, they put in temporary signs rather than doing the kind of the waist level no parking on Oak and Jorgensen. They put in temporary posts, and what we're going to be experimenting with the council's consent, is a way basically to put temporary no parking signs during kind of the event season. So it would probably be May through August or May through July, and have no parking on the south side of Kirchy from High Street to 6th Street West, which would allow us then to maintain access for emergency vehicles. But in thinking about this, we didn't really think there was a narrative or justification to have no parking on that south side, or it would be the north side actually, year round, because there's just north parking, because the sidewalk's on the south side, and that's where we want to have the parking. And so that's where because the circumstances were unique, we thought we needed a unique solution to it. So we'll be bringing that to you. I know there's some folks that have had ongoing concerns on different levels, but just wanted to give you a little update on what our current thinking is as it relates to that problem.
Will you be noticing the neighborhood before that meeting?
We can,
Officially.
yes.
I think it might be a good idea to just let them know, not only that we're looking at taking an action on it, but
Yep.
if they can voice what they
Sure.
have seen or think about it.
Would this meeting likely take place in the spring? Okay.
Yep. Some other public services related work. Again, and this is actually, inadvertently, but like a lot of these pieces were brought up because of resident concerns through the website, through phone calls. Actually, the speed zone, the brown water, Kirchy Hill parking, and this median work were all action steps that were taken as a result of folks submitting a question or comment to the city website. So if there is a feeling like you can't be connected, like we're taking real action towards it. So just a little kudos to the team for taking some of these on. But there was a concern from a resident in the Meridian Fields neighborhood that there was the Carl Forester plants that were planted in the median along Monroe Drive blocked a turn into the Meridian Fields neighborhood from going eastbound from the Timber Creek neighborhood. So Chad and Paul and the team really did a bang-up job of removing that Carl Forester in that specific area. It's going to be replanted with a lower grow, like a daylily. And we've had some empty planting beds along Levi Griffin Road. So they replanted that in those planting beds. I think it really looks good. I just wanted to give a shout out to the Public Services team for doing that, and just give the council a little update on that median work. The administrative assistant position that's vacant, that's the one that Diane Schwalbe previously had. As a kind of a leadership team, Chad, Aaron, Lynn, Vicky, Brenda Good, and myself kind of came to a collective decision that we're going to pause on hiring that position. We have, this is a little highlight or a jump ahead to the finance utility billing technician. Lynn has selected a candidate for that, Christine Dahman, who's going to be starting October 2nd. And rather than kind of just filling the position, because that's the position we've always had, the group wants to take it, 30 to 60 days to take a look at, how duties are assigned and who's doing what tasks, and really making sure that when we hire somebody full-time, that it's the best use of our resources, and we might be able to reassign certain duties or, maybe looking at different models. But before we have somebody in that position, we think now we're in the perfect time to really look at, how do we use this position and those resources going forward? And does it look like something different than we've been using, and not just to say, well, that person left, now we need to get another body in there. And so I wanted to thank the group for kind of pushing that and making sure that we took the time to do that.
I love that. Thank you.
Moving on to the utility superintendent, Chad, Paul, and I are interviewing finalists. So we interviewed one finalist today, and we'll be interviewing another finalist tomorrow. And hopefully we'll have someone to announce to the council at your next meeting in October. Wanted to share that the Heritage Preservation Commission selected the Getaway Motor Cafe for the annual Preservation Award. So I sent out a meeting invitation to the council and HPC for anyone who wants to take part in that award ceremony. Wanted to share that Sandra Kelly and Jill Finney on the HPC are taking part in the State Historic Preservation Office's, that's a mouthful, annual preservation conference in Mankato next week. And so Natalie Meyer was able to write and be awarded 2 conference scholarships. So their lodging and conference registration is being paid for by SHPO. So thanks to Natalie's work. And then also wanted to share that I will be attending the International City and County Management Association's annual conference in Austin, Texas. So leaving on Friday and coming back on Wednesday. So happy to answer any questions or give project updates on anything that you might be looking to receive a report on. Thank you.
Any questions for Brent?
I don't.
No questions.
All right. Christy, I think we've made it to the last.
Excuse me, council. I forgot, I buried the lead.
Uh-oh.
You buried the lead.
Yeah, you're right.
In between the work session and the regular meeting, Aaron Smith and I did a blind draw for the applicant order for the city council interviews. So we were planning for half-hour interview times. You have about 11 questions, and I really didn't want to have the council feel rushed. But if you want to adjust those times, but the order, Reed Welch, Glenn Henry, Kayla Pasco, Krista Goodell, and Eric Jansky. So Vicky and I will be working on notifying the applicants tomorrow of their times and the interview process. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, I was going to have you go first for council updates. 'Cause
All right.
I feel like you've gone last for everything tonight.
Yeah, no, that's all right. You know, I've been out of town, so I don't have a whole lot to report on. Right before I left, though, there was a thing called Steamboat Days that happened. So I want to specifically thank all of the city staff who helped out and made life so much easier. We couldn't do it without the partnership with the city, so I think that especially public services should know how much we appreciate the time that they spend down there. And really on a whim, you know, because we got to roll with some things that happen sometimes that they come up last minute, and it's really nice to know that we can count on them too. So thanks to all the city staff and everybody from top down who's helped out, from literally bringing water where we need it to, oh my gosh, can we get this copy and laminated? Like it's everybody's helping out. So we had a good time. We work every year to better it. So we see where our gaps are every year. So I encourage anyone who's listening to politely email steamboating@yahoo.com if you have any suggestions for next year. We do what we can. I do see that it's next Monday night is for the Getaway Cafe. I unfortunately will most likely not be able to make it that night. So I will send them my congratulations on the side. I'll be sorry to miss that, but I'll do what I can, but chances are I won't be able to make it. That's all I have.
I don't have any updates. Eric?
I don't have any updates. I just want to repeat what Christy said. Thank you to all city staff that supported another wonderful Steamboat Days. That's one of the great things I think about living in our community. My family has enjoyed that year over year. Thank you to Public Safety for their support of that as well. That's it.
All right. Just a few things for me. The Friday before Steamboat Days, we had a Big Four meeting, which is the Minnesota Association of Counties, League of Minnesota Cities, the school districts, and there's another one in the Big Four that I can't remember. Do you know who the Big Fourth one is? Maybe it's Chiefs of Police Association? It's something. Anyways, and it was a meeting focusing on cannabis, which is something that I just can't get enough information on. And everything that I've been seeing is, yep, there's still a lot to dive into here. So last I heard, they are doing final interviews for the OCM, the Office of Cannabis Management, and then hopefully things will start falling into place for that. Steamboat Days, wanted to give a shout out. It's always a fun time, and I think I always refer to it as like weekend hangover, when on Mondays you're like, oh, that was a really fun weekend. And I definitely had a case of weekend hangover the Monday after Steamboat Days. I always do. But it was a really good time, and I know that as an alumni of the committee that there's just a lot of work that goes into that. So thank you and all the folks who work so hard for that. On Steamboat Days Saturday, I had my quarterly office hours, and it was good to talk to folks as they were down for the car show or for the Minnesota Marketplace.
Can I ask how many people might have stopped in? I'm always curious.
Yeah, I had about a half a dozen folks.
Oh,
Yep.
nice.
So that was fun. Let's see. And then there was a SWCTC Southwest Corridor Transportation Committee last Friday. We met in Victoria, and we talked about all of the stuff. That group really started to focus on the transportation corridor that was primarily, at the time, the expansion of Highway 212. Now that that's fully funded and for the most part kind of checked off of our list as far as goals, it's really focused on Highway 5 kind of through Victoria, parts of Chanhassen, and then Waconia, and then also I think it's 82nd Street in Chaska and Chan, yeah. So just focusing on that, I think tonight is the first night, maybe tomorrow is the first day, where some of the folks are doing the fly-in to Washington, D.C. that I participated in last year, where you meet face-to-face with their legislators out there and their staffs to kind of say, hey, we are from Carver County and we need some transportation funding money. And then the last thing that I had, we had another mayor's meetup. We were in Brent's old stomping grounds of St. Joseph, Minnesota, which is just always a fun time. I kind of gave the highlights of this before. We used to have, as far as the Minnesota Mayors Association, we used to have an annual conference, and then between a number of forces, including COVID, for like the last 4 years, the conference has been canceled. So we're trying to figure out a different way of making this work because in addition to the stresses of COVID, it just didn't seem to work out to have a fall conference. So we're having smaller kind of 3 to 4 hour meetups in communities across the city where we get a legislative update from the League of Minnesota Cities, get a little bit of an introduction to the town. We did a walking tour of downtown St. Joseph, and I said to another mayor, I'm like, oh, this is going to end up costing me a lot of money because this is another fun city. St. Joe. They have a lot of cool little shops, and then the meat market, and just places, absolutely places that would be great to go and spend a Saturday or a Sunday and a weekend visit. So Fairmont was the other city that we've already been to, and then there'll be New Hope and Marshall are the other ones. There are also ones in Perham and Wyoming. So good times. But that is it from me. Unless there are any other announcements, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is that a motion by Councilmember Mock
I'll second.
and a second by Councilmember Sayre? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Good evening.